Audit the Audit released a new video. Let's react to it. Audit the Audit, right? 1 second. Shout out to Audit the Audit, because I'm technically using their content right now. Audit the Audit, right? YouTube at Audit the Audit. Fantastic videos. Post a new video every Monday. Sometimes they post every Thursday, and on those weeks, that's a good week. Audit the Audit on Monday and Thursday, that's a good week. I like that week. Secondary channel, John Lang. But Audit the Audit, female cop gets fired after doing this.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers detentions at gunpoint, resisting, and unlawful displays of firearms, and it's brought to us by Lackluster's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On May 9th, 2023, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida resident Ryan Gold was swimming laps in his apartment complex's pool when another resident by the name of Anna Ivanova approached him and requested that he swim in the opposite direction. Mr. Gold refused to change his course, and after Mr. Gold and Ms. Ivanova collided in the pool, a verbal altercation ensued. Ms. Ivanova called her husband, Benedetto Salvia, who arrived at the pool, and after continuing the verbal dispute, Mr. Salvia lifted his shirt to reveal that a firearm was tucked into the front of his pants. Mr. Gold called 911 to report the incident and waited in the parking lot in front of the pool for officers to arrive.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever be that tough guy who, like, what? Your wife called you and told you that some guy was being mean to her, and you came fully fucking armed to a pool to confront a guy half naked with a handgun. That's very stupid, because if you do that, either A, the guy is accosting your wife and is willing to accost you and possibly has his own gun and pulls it, and then you guys are literally shooting at each other, or like this, it's literally just a stupid interaction that your wife instigated, possibly, and now you're gonna have the cops called on you, and now you're the only guy armed with a gun and the cops are coming. And the United States cops never overreact, right?
Officer Bethany Guerriero of the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department responded and approached Mr. Gold in the parking lot along with another officer.
Come in, how you doing? Your hands out of pockets for me?
I'm not the one who's done it.
Sir, keep your hands out of your pockets. Put your phone
I
down.
haven't done a crime. Don't talk to me like
Listen
that.
to me. I don't know you.
Listen,
you can
I
put
don't
that
know
down.
you. You're the one with the gun.
Get down on the ground now. Get down on the ground.
this?
Get down on the ground.
What the?
I told you not to reach for anything.
I haven't committed a crime. You don't have any.
Hands out to your side
I haven't
now.
committed a crime.
Now you put your hands behind your back.
You can't hit me. For
Yes,
what?
I can.
For what?
I don't know you.
I don't know you. You're the ones with guns.
Yeah,
You're arresting me for nothing.
I'm detaining you right
That's
now.
fine. You're detaining me for what crime?
Because you don't want to listen.
That's not a crime. Your body cam on?
Yes, they sure
Good.
are.
Good. I called you guys for help because this guy's brandishing a gun at me.
When Officer Guerriero approaches Mr. Gold, she tells him to keep his hands out of his pockets. Mr. Gold informs her that he is not the one with the gun, then reaches into his pocket to pull out his cell phone. Officer Guerriero then ordered him to keep his hands out of his pockets again, and when Mr. Gold verbally protested, she pointed her firearm at him, ordered him to get on the ground, and handcuffed him, despite the fact that he did not reach for his pockets again. And surveillance footage of the encounter clearly shows that at the time Officer Guerriero pulled out her firearm, Mr. Gold was backing away from her with his hands clearly at his sides. Courts generally recognize three different so-called levels of encounters between the police and citizenry. At his sides. Courts generally recognize three different so-called levels of encounters between the police and citizenry: consensual encounters, temporary investigative detentions, or Terry stops, and formal arrests. As the 3rd District Court of Appeal of Florida outlined in the 1996 case of Saturnino Bode versus State, quote, in the consensual encounter, an officer may question anyone on the street without founded suspicion. On the other hand, now quoting again, a Terry stop is permissible if the detention is temporary and reasonable under the circumstances, and only if the police officer has a well-founded suspicion that the individual detained has committed, is committing, or is about to commit crime, while an arrest requires an officer to have probable cause to believe that the person arrested has committed a crime. Although the encounter between Officer Guerriero and Mr. Gold should have been of a consensual nature, since he had called the police for help as a potential victim, and there was no reason to believe that he had committed a crime, it is possible that a court could determine that Officer Guerriero had the reasonable suspicion necessary to conduct a Terry stop under the so-called mistake of fact doctrine, because she later articulated that she believed Mr. Gold was the individual who had a gun. As the Supreme Court explained in the 2014 case of Hine versus North Carolina.
So she lied. The cop lied. Articulated that she believed that Mr. Gold had the gun, whenever it's literally him standing in front of her saying, I'm not the one with the gun. How could she possibly have thought that?
Since the Fourth Amendment only prohibits unreasonable seizures, quote, a seizure may be permissible even though the justification for the action includes a reasonable factual mistake. Now, while it is questionable whether Officer Guerriero's mistake was, quote-unquote, reasonable, as Mr. Gold indicated that he did not have a gun, officers are not required to believe everything that citizens tell them, and it is certainly possible that a court could conclude that Officer Guerriero had reasonable suspicion to detain Mr. Gold due to her factual mistake. However, even if Officer Guerriero was within her authority to conduct a Terry stop, a court would likely find that her conduct exceeded the constitutionally permissible scope of the detention. It is well established that police action that exceeds the scope of an investigatory stop and becomes a full full-blown, quote-unquote, de facto arrest is unconstitutional if it is not supported by probable cause. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Florida, determined in the 2004 case of U.S. versus Acosta that, quote, officers may take reasonable steps to ensure their safety, so long as they possess an articulable and objectively reasonable belief that the suspect is potentially dangerous. And that, now quoting again, an investigatory stop does not necessarily ripen into an arrest because an officer draws his weapon, handcuffs a suspect, orders a suspect to lie face down on the ground, or secures a suspect in the back of a patrol car. Nonetheless, because Mr. Gold was not reaching into his pockets or behaving aggressively in any way at the time Officer Guerriero pulled out her firearm and pointed it at him, he would have a strong argument that she did not have an objectively reasonable belief that he was potentially dangerous, and therefore exceeded the permissible scope of a Terry stop and subjected him to an unconstitutional de facto arrest in the absence of probable cause.
Sit down. I didn't say sit up. I said sit down.
Where's your supervisor?
I'm getting
You
one.
see how she's talking? I haven't done anything.
You don't
Why am
want
I in
to
handcuffs? I don't care. You're not my mom.
Because I'm
You're not my
coming here
dad.
for a gun.
That's fine. I don't have a gun. I haven't committed a crime.
Wait, didn't the other cop literally tell this dude to stand up? Is that not what I just heard?
At the time Officer Guerriero pulled out her firearm and pointed it at him, he would have a strong argument that she did not have an objectively reasonable belief that he was potentially dangerous, and therefore exceeded the permissible scope of a Terry stop and subjected him to an unconstitutional de facto arrest in the absence of probable cause.
Oh, sit up.
Sit down. I didn't say sit up. I said sit down.
Supervisor.
I'm getting
You
one.
see how she's talking? I haven't done anything.
You don't
Why am
want
I in
to
handcuffs? I don't care. You're not my mom.
Because I'm
You're not my
coming here
dad.
for a gun.
That's fine. I don't have a gun. I haven't committed a crime.
When I told you to keep your hands out of your pockets,
You're
you
not
did
my,
it.
I didn't commit a crime. You don't get to tell me what to do.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. Why are you yelling at me?
Because I have every
Who
right to
are
right
you?
now.
What's your badge number?
321 Guerrero, G-U-E-R-R-I. Make sure you spell it right.
If you're this scared of a guy in a
Stand up and sit for
swimsuit,
20 years.
you're terrified of a guy in a swimsuit. I didn't do anything.
You can shut your mouth.
They
now.
just detained me. I explained. There's no guns. That
I
guy
don't
has a gun.
detain anybody for no reason.
Then what reason?
Because I
What crime did I commit for
Can
you
you
to
shut
detain
your
me?
mouth so I can explain it to
Are you in charge of this lady? Why am I in handcuffs on the ground? Are you a supervisor?
No, he's
Can
not.
someone explain why I'm handcuffed on
Shut
the
your mouth
No.
so I can talk to you.
Look at you. You're furious. What did I do?
You did not listen.
You're not my boss.
Listen to
I
me.
don't need to listen to you.
Yes, you do.
No, I...
Bro, why are your toes painted? Why are you that aggressive with your toes painted?
Don't. She doesn't get to detain me.
Yes,
Pull
I do.
pull her gun on me.
Because when you
Put me
put
on the
your hands
ground.
in your pocket and
I
I'm
didn't commit a
getting
crime. I don't care.
you
You're
don't
that
wanna
terrified?
listen.
You shouldn't be a cop if you're that terrified.
I've been here for 20 years,
Yeah,
punk.
yeah. Here. Go somewhere real. You're terrified.
You know what, do
Are
me
you
a
a
favor?
supervisor? Can you ask this lady why I'm in handcuffs? Tell her what crime
I keep
I've
trying to
committed.
tell you,
Go
and
ahead.
you
What
keep
crime?
talking over me.
What crime?
I get called because
Crime.
someone is...
What's suspicion?
You don't need to be in
Yes, I
custody.
do. To detain me, you need suspicion of a crime.
No, you do
She
not.
Yes, you do. You don't know the law? Please explain it to me. You cannot just go around detaining random people.
Can you calm down for a second?
I'm in
Can you
handcuffs.
calm down? Honestly, we're not getting
Stand
anywhere.
up. I'll calm down if I can stand up.
I'm in charge, not you.
No, you're not.
And you blue nail polish, cute.
Okay.
No,
I'm not gonna do it. What did I do?
Down, all right?
Right now, all I need you to do is keep your mouth
Jesus
shut.
Christ.
I don't care. I'm not gonna do it. Arrest me.
You are
Yeah,
under
I want to. Okay, arrest me.
You're
Go ahead, take me to jail.
resisting. I am
Go ahead,
taking
take
you
me to
to
jail. Take me to jail right now.
You're under arrest right now for not committing a crime. Like, okay, well, there you go. She just said you're under arrest. So, that's an instant lawsuit.
Take me to jail.
Oh, I will.
Do it. I'm ready.
going to.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your name, dude?
Excuse me.
What's your name?
Allow me to stand
What's
up
your
and
name?
I'll...
No, negative. Doesn't work that way.
Okay, tell me what crime I'm here for.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. You are under arrest.
For what crime?
You have to give your name. You're already under
That's
arrest.
fine. What crime, though?
Don't worry. She already told you. She's already got
Resisting arrest is a secondary charge. That's a secondary charge.
It's not a secondary.
Then take me to jail.
You are going to jail. Don't worry about it. I got you.
Let's go.
The officers inform Mr. Gold that he will be arrested for resisting, and Mr. Gold argues that resisting arrest is a so-called secondary charge. In order to fully understand the legal principles in play, we must address the distinction between state statutes that criminalize resisting arrest and laws that simply prohibit, quote-unquote, resisting an officer. In some states, the applicable statute only forbids resisting the specific act of arrest, in which case resisting would be considered a so-called secondary charge to the offense, precipitating the underlying arrest.
But if you're being charged with resisting arrest, wouldn't you have to know that you are being placed under arrest? And if you're the guy calling the cops, how the hell could you possibly know? Well, I mean, he wasn't. He was never like verbally informed that, hey, you are now under arrest, and then resisted. So how could he possibly be charged and convicted under any statute for resisting arrest whenever you were never informed of being under arrest, therefore able to resist the arrest? Does that make sense?
However, in other states, such as Florida, resisting can be a standalone charge, as the statute merely criminalizes so-called resisting an officer in the performance of their duties, and does not necessarily require the resistance to be in response to an arrest. Under Section 844.02 of the Florida statutes, quote, whoever shall resist, obstruct, or oppose any officer in the lawful execution of any legal duty without offering or doing violence to the person of the officer shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of...
But where does the resistance come from also? I just feel like the guy can't possibly be convicted of resisting.
first degree.
I mean, I'm assuming it's because he's not offering his information, his name and stuff.
Courts have generally determined that in some situations, individuals can be convicted of resisting for refusing to comply with a police officer's lawful order. For example, in the 2022 case of Senko versus Jackson, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District...
I'll assume, if you're the guy calling the cops, and then the cops come, it's almost guaranteed you have to give your information. You're the one that called them. You're the one that initiated, like, emergency services. So why would you not be forced to give up your Fourth Amendment right and provide all of your information, your papers and effects, all that crap, you would almost undeniably have to provide that if you call emergency services. So yeah, okay.
Flores stated that this statute, quote, authorizes arrest for knowingly obstructing an officer in the performance of his duties, including by refusing to obey a police officer's lawful command. However, in the 2010 case of Stamos versus Brown, the same court determined that an officer did not have arguable probable cause to arrest an individual who initially did not comply with an officer's orders to back away, but then began to step back after subsequent orders. In this instance, while Mr. Gold did not comply with Officer Guerriero's initial order to keep his hands out of his pockets, he reached into his pocket for his phone after providing the mitigating information that he was not the one who had the gun, and seemed to believe that he had alleviated her concerns. Once it became clear that Officer Guerriero still wanted him to keep his hands out of his pockets, he complied with this order. As such, it is highly likely that a court would conclude that Mr. Gold's conduct in retrieving his phone from his pocket did not rise to the level of knowingly resisting, obstructing, or opposing Officer Guerriero.
And also, most people use their phone to collect evidence. Like, you're going to be taking pictures of license plates or people or identifying information. Like, you kind of need your phone. I mean, yeah, it's probably poor timing, but, like, lady, chill out. Jesus.
That's fine. I'm ready to go to jail. Take me.
You're gonna go,
Is
trust
your
me.
body camera on, sir? All my body cameras on. Perfect.
He came out here. Me and Strzelecki go up. He's got his hand in his pocket, and I go, bro, take your hands out of your pocket, right? And then when he goes and pulls the phone out, and he goes to put it back. I said, keep your hands out of your pocket. And I drew down on him. I drew down on him.
Okay.
That guy.
Has anybody talked to?
Not yet, because Mike came running out. Joe went running out.
What?
I'm over here.
Fuck that guy. Public servant. Serve and protect. Fuck that guy. Sure. Cool. You shouldn't be a cop. 20 years? Have you been doing this for 20 years?
Here, literally by myself with this f***ing guy.
All right.
You're pulling a gun out on the victim. But you've been a cop for 20 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. Okay. You shouldn't be doing that for 20 years.
Are you okay to go talk to her?
Yes. So, I had to go to my house. Do you wish to tell me what happened here today so I can have a better understanding?
Yeah, I mean, my wife called me. She called me and said that there's a guy harassing her at school.
Okay, was it that guy over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I just ran over here. He's obviously left there. And I didn't, want to get involved. I was trying to pull my wife away. And she just got closer. At
what point did the gun become involved? Well, how did he know that you were armed?
No aggression for the guy who actually has a gun in his waistband. Have they actually taken the gun off of him yet? Or does he still have a live firearm in his fucking waistband? Like, you were super afraid of people with guns before, whenever the guy was literally in just those swim trunks. So, are we no longer afraid of weapons? Are we no longer afraid of handguns? Maybe he's already been taken away from him. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
You told that other officer that you put your hands up like this so that
My wife
was
said
under
that. I know it didn't come out of the holster or anything like that.
No, I didn't say it came out, but how was he able to know that you were armed? Because he called us, he said that you were armed.
I mean, if I lift my shirt up, you can see it.
Okay, so did you want him to see that you were armed? Did you tell him you were armed?
I don't think so. No.
In contrast to the two conflicting stories that Mr. Salvia
It looks like
told,
the gun's gone.
the surveillance footage from the pool clearly shows that he approached Mr. Gold, stood directly in front of him, and raised his shirt to display the firearm that was concealed in the front of his pants. According to section 790.10 of the Florida statute, which codifies the offense of improper exhibition of dangerous weapons or firearms, quote, if any person having or carrying any dirk, sword, sword cane, firearm, electric weapon or device, or other weapon shall, in the presence of one or more persons, exhibit the same in a rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, not in necessary self-defense, a person so offending shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree. Now, while it is nearly unquestionable based on the security footage that Mr. Salvia displayed his firearm to Mr. Gold in a rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, he would not be guilty of a criminal offense if he did so in quote-unquote necessary self-defense. However, under section 776.012 of the Florida statutes, an individual is only justified in using or threatening to use force against another, quote, when and to the extent that the person reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the other's imminent use of unlawful force. Now, while the surveillance footage clearly shows that Mr. Gold was engaged in a heated verbal exchange with Mr. Salvia and Ms. Ivanova, he made no physically threatening actions and remained a safe distance away from the couple. And it was Mr. Salvia who approached Mr. Gold and then raised his shirt to display his firearm. Accordingly, the court would almost certainly conclude that Mr. Salvia was not acting in necessary self-defense against an imminent use of force by Mr. Gold.
Okay, so you spoke with that gentleman. Okay, I spoke to him. I'm trying to understand exactly what happened, but yeah, can you explain to me from your perspective what happened?
He started screaming. He started getting closer. He started balling up his fists.
So he's walking towards you?
Yes.
Okay.
My wife got closer to him, and I tried to insert myself in between them.
Okay.
So at that point, we were maybe like 4 or 5 feet apart.
Okay. At what point in time did you pull up your shirt?
Or 10.
Somewhere in there. I really am not comfortable saying anymore. I'm so hazy in my memory that I don't want to say the wrong thing. Can I wait till I have a lawyer?
Sure, absolutely.
We just wanted
is there
to
anything
give you the opportunity because we're going to look at those cameras and we just want to make sure that what we're going to watch matches what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, I lifted my shirt up.
At any point during your encounter with him, did you inform him that you were armed?
I mean, I think that was informing him that I was armed.
By lifting up your shirt?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. You already asked for more. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, I was going to say either you hold him or you file, but we have a weapon and it was used in the crime.
Well, we'll take the weapon.
What are you going to take the weapon for?
Right now, maybe I'm going to investigate.
So then I would go with that then. take him for the resisted arrest. Yeah. What do you think about? And then you can let him know, hey, we're taking your firearm, pending the outcome of this investigation. But
I feel like at this point they both deserve to go, and I'll tell you why.
Officer Guadiaro
Mute the
turned
body
off the
camera.
for the remainder of the encounter.
That should be a felony. That should be a felony. That should be tampering with evidence. Absolutely. And so many cops do it. So many cops. She's been doing this for 20 years. Has she been doing this for 20 years? Because if I had 20 years of felonies, like at least 20 felonies, I'd still be in prison and I would never get out in Tennessee with 20 felonies. I wish that was a felony. I wish you could imprison the cops. I do. Absolutely.
And was later taken to the hospital from the apartment complex in an ambulance after her heart rate spiked and she complained of chest pains. Mr. Gold was transported to jail.
That's because she knew that she's fucked. It's because she understood all of the facts after her unreasonable reaction, and she understands just how fucked she is for illegally detaining and arresting a guy who called the cops, for arresting the victim of a crime.
But several hours later, after Sergeant Dennis Beef reviewed the surveillance footage from the apartment complex, he called another officer and ordered him to get Mr. Gold out of jail immediately. Mr. Gold was then released before he was processed and...
because the lawsuit is so juicy.
Without any criminal charges being filed against him. According to a probable cause affidavit written by Officer Michael Valerio, because the officers could not immediately access the surveillance footage, they seized Mr. Salvia's firearm, bullets, magazine, and holster pending the outcome of this investigation, and then released Mr. Salvia and Ms. Ivanova. However, after the officers reviewed the surveillance footage, they determined that probable cause existed to arrest Mr. Salvia. And on May 12, 2023, he was charged with improper exhibition of a dangerous weapon. Court records show that Mr. Salvia participated in a pre-trial diversion program, and on May 26, 2023, the charge was dismissed after Mr. Salvia took gun safety and anger management classes and paid for the costs of prosecution. Immediately following the encounter, Mr. Gold filed several complaints with the Palm Beach Gardens PD, triggering an internal affairs investigation one day after his arrest. On August 25, 2023, Chief Clint Shannon announced that Officer Guadiaro was fired after the investigation determined that she violated several department policies in her conduct toward Mr. Gold.
Good.
According to Officer Guadiaro's personnel file, she had been with the department for over 19 years and made $101,000 annually. She later told a reporter that, quote, being in this job as long as we all have, we have moments throughout our careers that weren't our best. Was it my finest hour? Absolutely not. It is also reported that Officer Guadiaro planned to appeal her termination through arbitration. As a result of the altercation with Officer Guadiaro, Mr. Gold decided to move back to Chicago and told a reporter that he never wanted to return to Palm Beach Gardens. He also informed reporters that he is considering filing a lawsuit. And Blackluster stated at the end of his video that there was, quote, quite a bit of news regarding Mr. Gold's next actions, but Mr. Gold was limited in what he could share just yet. Overall, Officer Guadiaro gets an F for unreasonably pointing her firearm at an unarmed and unaggressive citizen who had just been threatened with a gun, arresting Mr. Gold when there was likely no probable cause to do so, and blatantly misrepresenting the facts of the situation in order to justify her actions. As Mr. Gold pointed out, Officer Guadiaro seemed to be terrified by the idea of a gun being present at the scene. And although fear of the deadly nature of firearms is certainly an understandable human reaction, individuals who cannot behave reasonably and constitutionally when responding to encounters involving guns simply do not have the temperament necessary to be law enforcement officers.
Especially whenever you're a law enforcement officer or a public servant sworn to uphold the tenets of the Constitution, and one of those tenets being the right to keep and bear arms. But you're terrified of a person that, the person told you they didn't have a gun. Like, imagine that she's a cop, which she is. Imagine that she pulls people over for, like, traffic infractions. And, like, they have an obligation to inform of concealed carry. And then, so it started off as, oh, well, this guy just didn't signal. This guy didn't come to a complete stop at the stop sign. And then, oh my God, he's got a gun. And then the guns get pulled out because she's not prepared to engage with anything like that. So she's got her gun pointed at somebody's head, trying to, secure their firearm, even though it's like, hey, I know you pulled me over for this, but since you're a police officer, my concealed carry permit says that I have to inform you that there's a weapon in the car. And then all hell breaks loose. Jeez. People like that shouldn't be cops. Absolutely not. And then has a full-blown panic attack whenever she realizes she just screwed up royally.
In order to be effective in their positions, officers must be able to regulate their fear and anger and respond to situations in a proportional and intentional manner, which Officer Guadiaro clearly failed to do here. Additionally, while I applaud the Palm Beach Gardens PD for terminating Officer Guadiaro, I question why the other officers involved in Mr. Gold's arrest were not disciplined, as they did nothing to stop Officer...
Yep. That's the other side of this coin. That's one reason that people hate the thin blue line thing. Yeah, just for the, it's the other officers that do nothing. It's the officers here who swear to uphold and protect the Constitution and the rights of the people, and then they violate it. And then it's also the people who stand directly next to these terrible officers and do absolutely nothing to stop them, or to educate them, inform them. They're just as bad as these terrible cops. possibly they're worse, because these people, they don't give a shit about your rights. It's the other officers that pretend like they do, but then do nothing. So they also don't care.
Officer Guerriero's overly aggressive behavior and assisted in arresting Mr. Gold without probable cause, with one officer even pointing his taser at Mr. Gold when Officer Guerriero drew her firearm. As Mr. Gold told a reporter when arguing that Officer Guerriero's firing was not enough, quote, "There were many officers there that day that participated in this. It was not just this one woman." Mr. Gold gets an A, because although he did not comply with Officer Guerriero's initial order to keep his hands out of his pockets, this seemed to be the result of a misunderstanding rather than a willful act of defiance, and he took steps to oppose Officer Guerriero's unlawful conduct by verbally challenging her actions during the stop and filing complaints afterward. Mr. Gold has also sought to bring public attention to the misconduct in this incident, and has been vocal in calling for higher levels of reform in the Palm Beach Gardens PD other than just simply firing Officer Guerriero. I commend Mr. Gold for his willingness to stand up for his rights, even in the face of multiple officers engaging in questionable conduct, and would encourage him to pursue a lawsuit if he's not already doing so. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.
That's Audit the Audit at Audit the Audit, or at YouTube/Audit the Audit. And Lackluster, they're good too. Lackluster Media.
You realize the failure of the war on drugs when someone tasked with combating it switches...
Quite you. Yeah, Lackluster. They post pretty good content too.